Welcome back. We are going to start where we left off on the last video, and that was cutting the firewall out of the 65 Ford Ranchero to make room for the body drop and the LS. But really what we're making room for is the brake booster and the steering. So while you were away, I went ahead and started to mock up the steering, and that's where we're going to start. I just want to get a base measurement for where the steering column I believe is going to come through the firewall. That's where we're going to start. So here you can see the steering column. It's not exactly in place where I want it, but it is hanging from the string where I can line up the linkage from here to the steering box. So I'm going to basically take a measurement down from here and then over from the side panel that we made in the last video, and that will at least give us an intersection where we can mark it. And Sharpies are like 10mm sockets. They always disappear. Had to resort to the Sharpie. So I have a little mark right here. That's going to basically be the center line. I'm going to call that 13 3/4. We're going to call that 8 1/4. Now I'm just going to remove that steering column. I'm going to clear out the interior where I set the seat in place for the mock-up, and we will come back when we're starting to make the template for the firewall. Okay, the first thing I decided I'm going to do is take this floor pan right here and do a break on it, and we're going to try to clear the exhaust. I want to show you before I show you from the inside. If you look real close right here, that metal will match up. But if we look at it from the inside, it looks like there's a gap. So I just want to show that to you before we get going too far. So here, originally I had to notch out the metal to clear the original firewall and the panel that I cut out right here, the kick panel. What I'm going to do is break it right there where I made that notch straight across, and I'm going to try to match the angle that we have here and see if that will clear the exhaust. Hopefully it will. If not, what I originally planned to do is make that firewall come down and meet up with the floor pan, and then I was just going to weld it all the way across. So I think that if I can do it this way, I can do a little bit better welding and cleaning up the weld if I can put a break here and then weld a little bit up the firewall. So what I'm going to do now is just remove this panel. Now I'm going to remove this panel. And clean it off. We'll make a mark for the brake. It's very faint, so we will go ahead and take this to the brake, and we'll put some angle on it, see what we come up with, and hopefully it fits up good. I don't think that's enough. But I also don't have an angle finder to help me out. So we're just gonna take a quick look. So it did just clear the exhaust, but we need some more. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, that doesn't look bad. Let's put this piece in and see what that looks like. What I'm looking at right here is the line and this angle coming up, and it's looking pretty close. All right, let's take a look on the inside. So the angle looks pretty good. Looks like maybe we could actually come up with a slight more angle up, but I think I like this so that I can do my weld across here, and we'll have some clearance on the exhaust. Maybe I'll just leave it for now, and then we'll get to working on the template for the firewall. All right, let me show you what I'm thinking. So I feel like we are a straight edge from this point over here and this point right here. We're gonna demonstrate that now. And basically I'm pushing up to this pinch weld and I'm up against the panels that I made. So my plan is to take several pieces of 2-inch tape, starting here and going across, and then working my way up, and that should give us the contour of this section that actually rises up. So I'm hoping that's what I can do right now. I'm going to start at the top of my metal pieces, and hopefully those line up, since I basically cut them the same at the same place. So we're stuck there. And this isn't so critical, but we're going to build on this and we're going to move up. And I wanted it to be kind of tight. And it is, kind of. And this should give us a foundation for the next layer, somewhat. Not perfect. I think we're okay. think at this point we can just start to put the tape where we want it. I don't necessarily just want to follow the edge, but maybe that makes sense. Yeah, maybe that makes sense. Or maybe I can just bring it up to the level. What I wanted to do is kind of go past it, mark it, but I don't know. Maybe this makes just as much sense as anything. What we can do is fine tune this on a piece of cardboard. We'll get it close, we'll get it put up there and see what it looks like. All right, so it doesn't look like much, but I think that's going to at least give us a good guideline. And I can take this shape, as long as I can get that top portion that has the shape to it, we're in good shape. Because, like I showed you earlier, we are straight across from here to there. And if I can locate that on a piece of cardboard or the ram board stuff that I have, that's fine, because the rest of it's going to be close. So I'm going to remove this, going to consider putting the ram board down so that we can get a rough estimation whether or not this is going to work. You see, we got the template kind of laid out. Obviously it's just the masking tape, but I'm going to bring you in and show you what I did do. I made some Sharpie marks on the outer edges where it meets up with this panel. I did that on both sides. And then over here, I laid out this ram board, and this mark all the way to this mark is going to be the total width of that template that we just made. And this is the center of it. So as we lay this template down, we aren't worried about this part. We're only going to worry about this part. We're going to line up one of these, and then we're going to stretch across and meet up over here. And once we lay that out, it's going to show us where our center line is, and then we can go from there. So that's what I'm about to do. I'm going to remove the template from here and place it over here. And it's really only held in on these ends. Trying to figure out the best way to do this. should have made a mark. So here we are 5 inches from the top. Let's go a little more. I think we need to go 7 inches. The reason I want more is so that we can actually fold this over and make a flange. All right, this is going to get us pretty close. What I'm going to do is going to push this all down. I'll trace this, but we're going to cut probably, to start with, we'll probably cut 1.5 inches above, which is probably going to be the space we have right here. And this will get us pretty close to the shape we need. Here I have everything laid out. The edge of the tape was the edge of the metal. So what I did is I marked 1 inch up from that. I freehanded and I just drew this. And now we have a 1 inch gap between here and here. That's longer than what we need for our flange that we're gonna drill and then spot weld. I've also marked out the transmission area. I think at this point what I'm going to do is remove the engine. I don't want to cut this just yet. What I want to do is get the engine out, test fit this, and make sure that this lines up with the floor pans where they're already at, and then we can go from there. And in order to get the engine out, I'm going to have to raise the car, put it on jack stands. We'll get the engine out, and then I'll test fit that template and we'll make sure everything is good. And while we're there, I'm gonna come through and fix these areas. If I don't, and I leave that gap there, if we get water down in here, or I'm even afraid that if I fill that, because I considered shaving that, we'll still potentially get water in here and it'll leak into the interior. And with what I have planned for the interior, I really don't want to get wet. When I see you in just a second, we'll have the engine out and I'll have that template cut. We'll be test fitting that. Kind of figured I should do a little update. I still got a little bit of work I want to do before I turn the camera on, and I'll show you what that is right now. Obviously, you can see the engine is out. I took the floor pans out that are clecoed in. Got the engine sitting right there. When we come back, I'll have all this cleaned up as good as I can. And here's another look at the back side of the dash. Like I said, this is going to be identical to a Mustang. We have our wipers here. That's your vent, and you can tell there on, maybe you can tell. This metal on the end is in pretty rough shape, so that's where we're at. I'll come back once I get that flange cleaned up. You can see the side, maybe you can see that side. It's all rusted out. So, I don't know, I gotta figure something out here, make sure it's the right thing. All right, don't be mad at me, but I did go ahead and I got all this scrap out. And I started with just a hammer and a chisel. And I was trying to chisel up in here, in between those supports. And then I noticed it was working, so I grabbed the air hammer, or air chisel, however you want to look at it, and I was able to pretty well clean out that layer of material from one side to the other. So what I'm going to do now is grab my flap disc, and I'm going to clean up this area that I cut with the Sawzall on accident. And once I have that cleaned up, we'll come back. I think on the very edges, I'm going to have to piece in some metal. You can see there. And then you should be able to see here. So we're probably looking at about 8 to 10 inches of material I'm probably going to have to remake. Shouldn't be a big deal, but it is going to be more than what I had bargained for. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. I've got some cleanup done on the firewall. I'll show you that real quick, and then I'm going to show you where we're going to trim the firewall just a little bit. So up under here you can see I've made an attempt to at least get this stitched back together. There is still some bad metal that I will need to get out of there, but you can see this edge is nowhere near straight. So I just found this factory edge here where there were 3 pieces that all came together and pinched right here and got welded. So what I'm trying to do is straighten that up, and it will make for a better looking finished firewall when we're done. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this right now, and then we'll come back to get a game plan. Let's take a look. Yeah, looks much more uniform. We'll make a better looking finish when we're done, and it still gives us a clean edge. So when we put our template up here, we should we'll probably wait until we get the template transferred to metal, and then once we're rolled around, we can mark this edge and use that as a location. It's coming in there. I just got those side filler pieces in, and I went to put the template in place because we have a project that needs to go on that little makeshift workbench, and here it is. Let's go ahead and get that template in place and see how it looks. Well, here we are. This is the first iteration of the firewall template, and it's looking pretty good. I did just kind of put the 4 pans in place to see what it's going to look like. I think the angles might have to be changed on the actual floor pan, but yeah, so far so good. You can kind of see that crease in the middle. That's going to be right on this corner here, and then it's going to kick back. And I don't know if you can see, I did put a bend here, which is representative of what I'm going to have to do to the piece of metal. It's going to be, I'm going to have to put it in the brake and put a 90 on it to have a welding flange right here. But the way everything is looking, I think this will get us in the ballpark. So after I take care of my side project, we'll get back on Probably cutting, I think I want to cut this area out and make sure that everything's lining up with the floor pans. Show you the inside. Pretty excited that it's actually starting to come together and I can start to see it. I'm pretty excited to see it coming together, and this actually helps with the visuals to see what it might look like. And I am going to leave it flat with the brakes on the 3 sides and even the brake that cuts back and where it's going to meet up with the floor panels. It's going to be strong enough. That panel's not going to be very tall. So, see you in just a minute.